So we're going to talk a little bit about questions to expect from the recruiter and how you can best answer these questions as well. The first one is tell me about yourself, right? Very general, very open-ended question. But just because it's open-ended doesn't mean, you should go on like a 5-minute monologue about yourself and things like that. They just want to be able to, it's kind of like an elevator pitch, right? Within 15 to 30 seconds, can you tell me, what you've been working on, how your how your career progression has gone, what are you interested in, and things like that. So you want to make sure that things are concise, right? Another question that they may ask: why are you looking for a job, right? And again, very general question, but the way you answer this can really affect how the recruiter and the rest of the team, views your performance in the interviews. So we talked about this, right? In terms of like researching your priorities, researching your targets. This is where that research will come into play, right? Rather than saying like, oh, I'm just looking for a new job because I'm bored at my current one and just wanting to see what's out there, right? Not a very inspiring answer. But if you're able to turn this question into, why are you looking for a new job? I'm particularly interested in, Amazon because they've really, redefined the way that e-commerce is done. You can basically buy anything on there, and really being able to work at a company of this scale is something that's interesting to me. I've only worked at smaller companies in the past, so putting myself in a situation where I'm not as comfortable in, and hopefully I can learn some new things and be able to contribute what I've learned at smaller companies, to a large company like this. Something similar to that. Much more detailed. It's still a short answer, but it shows that you've done some research, and it will help you stand out amongst the crowd with such a simple question as well. Let's see. Quick question about interview performance. So Ketul Kumar asks, as you mentioned that if you get rating as 1 and 2 means you did not perform as expected. So what do you suggest after how many months we can apply for that company again? Great question. I would say anywhere from about 6 to 12 months is what most companies use as a benchmark for you to apply again. Deepa asks, is it okay to attend interviews from tier 1 companies when you are not fully confident with your preparation? Will that performance affect future interviews with the same company? Yeah, that's a good question, Deepa. And this is exactly a good point. Why we should always interview with tier 2 companies and do some mock interviews through IK. Until you're fully confident, right? And maybe not fully confident, but at least like a 90% confidence that you'll do well, and you're not going to have any regrets going into the tier 1 company interviews. Because let's say you go into a tier 1 company interview, you're not fully confident, you're not fully prepared, and you completely bomb it. It may affect the time it takes in order for you to interview with that company again, right? If you were really close, as I mentioned, some companies, especially the larger ones, will let you re-interview after 6 months. But if you completely bomb the interview, some companies will make you wait a year or more in order to re-interview with that same company. So when you are interviewing with your target tier 1 companies, you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward the first time you interview with them. Fanny, you had a question?
Yeah, so just on that, the point about not letting you interview for a year or whatever, they wouldn't let you know, right? That's not something that they communicate with you. It's just that your application would be just ignored, or they keep rejecting you. Is that the way it happens, or do they actually let you know?
Most recruiters will tell you, most recruiters will tell you, let's say, you get the rejection call, you can ask them, when can I reapply? Most recruiters will tell you, you can reapply probably in 6 to 8 months or, 12 months or more. So yeah, recruiters will tell you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Excellent.
Yep. Mm-hmm. All right. And then, oh, yes. And then this is a really important question as well, right? A recruiter may ask you, tell me about a project, or, can you describe to me, on a high level what you've been working on recently? And here again, you want to focus on things like impact, what you did, how you did it, and again, the impact of this project. And you want to keep things simple, right? Recruiters, they're not engineers, right? 99% of recruiters are not engineers. So really think about how you can explain your project in simpler terms. The reason is because recruiters need to know how to sell you. So if they understand what you're doing, they'll do a better job of promoting you. So on a recruiter phone screen, you definitely want to keep your project explanation in simpler terms. Try to give them a high level overview of the project. Once you're in a call with a hiring manager or the interviewer, then you can get a lot more granular, a lot more detailed, and kind of talk about the different nuances of the project because they'll be able to understand it. Um, but in the early stages, you want to make sure that the recruiter understands the project you're working on. So keep it simple, and kind of stick to the key points of your particular projects there as well. Salary expectations is another thing that a recruiter may ask on an initial call. Now, I know that some people do have targets and things like that. If you do have a target range or something, what I would usually suggest is, giving a number or a range that's 15 to 20%, higher than that range, right? You don't want to sell yourself short. On the other hand, you can also just let the recruiter know, hey, I think it's a little too early to talk about this right now, but I'm more than happy to revisit it, later down in the process. And we do have a really good offer negotiations course that can dive in much more in depth into how you handle these types of questions as well. And this is the big question: what does an ideal role look like for you, and what are your priorities? So this really all again ties back into your research into those companies, your research into those priorities. And this is a great way to showcase that what you've done in terms of your research and what you're looking for in your next role. And you can definitely go from there. And it's a really good way to answer this question as well. Let's see. Bhagyashri asks, California law, does this also mean that the employer cannot ask to disclose the competing offer number and the name of the company? That's a good question. So unfortunately, this law does not protect against that. So if you do have competing offers and a company does ask you for the offer numbers or the company, you're still not required to disclose it. You can say, I'm not comfortable sharing that still, but it doesn't prevent them from asking. The reason why is because they do want to make sure that, if they are matching another offer or things like that, they don't want to just do it by word of mouth. I think they've been burned too many times where candidates say they have an offer from another company, but they actually don't. And so this is just the company's way of kind of protecting themselves. Unfortunately, the law does not cover that. All right. And then another reason why we did all that research in the beginning, what do you know about the company and why our company? Right. And again, all the research that you did previously will come into play here. You can explain to whoever you're talking to why you chose the particular company, the projects and products that they've been working on. And that's going to be a really important thing to highlight and showcase there as well. And then the last thing that a recruiter will ask is logistics. So this is again where they'll ask about work authorization, if you need to relocate, are you looking for something more remote, what the timeline looks like. So really be open with your recruiter. Again, build that trust with them, build that relationship. You two are going to be working together throughout the rest of the process. So really be open with them. They can be your best friend throughout the process. So really lean on them as a resource. And don't be afraid to utilize them throughout the process to learn more about the process and get a better understanding of what interviewers are looking for as well.